right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. I wish sometimes you'd hear the conversations that happen during the break. They're even more heated than when we are on. But I said the senators are here with us. Honorable Edio Kech, the senator for Migori, is here. Honorable Hilary Sigei, the senator for Bomet, is with us. Honorable Joe Nyutu, the senator for Moranga, is here. And Franklin Mukwanja, the executive director, CMD. Thank you for tuning in, for staying with us. Keep your views coming at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Citizen Daybreak. We'll run some of them in just a short while. But Mukwanja, let me bring you into this conversation. So we're already talking about who's talking to who's trying to get what arrangement. What should this coalition talks be really based on? Because most of the people wonder, where are the people in this entire conversation? When ODM says that the committee is expressing intention to initiate structured negotiations with different political formations, beginning with UDA, it means that there's no conclusion at the moment. There's no focus on a particular part. It means it's a conversation that is open for everyone. So what is this discussion supposed to be based on?
I mean, with a lot of respect to the ODM leadership and the Gen Z leader, Dr. Oburo Oginga, that is one straight lie with a very calm face. ODM is not negotiating with many parties. The ODM negotiations is targeted at going to government, and that is quite clear.
So you don't see a situation where
I do not see ODM sitting down with the Honorable Joe Nyutu here and his party leader and having a conversation. And that is quite clear, and we'll be coming back here to discern those issues. Ideally, coalitions should be build on issues, the issues that political parties, you expect that political parties have these ideological cleavages, and therefore they will be able to negotiate and compromise and reach an agreement based on their beliefs and say, we can pursue these things in common. And even in mature democracies, you have scenarios where political parties come together where they say, okay, we will support you on the floor of the House on these issues. But because we have strong, strong issues against what you believe on these particular issues, we may not even take up cabinet positions to give us our neutrality and our independence on the floor so that we can canvass these issues. Unfortunately, our political parties are not mature enough. And I want just to chime in the debate that both the senators are actually wrong. It's not big or small or tiny. It's about parties that are emerging and parties that are mature. And therefore, because our political parties have struggled for a long time in terms of clearly communicating their value propositions, their principles, their ideals, their philosophy, then you do not see a big difference between ODM and UDA in terms of their fundamental beliefs. And therefore, what is then in reality informing is that in the aftermath of the new constitution, where 50+1 is required, then the focus is on the numbers. And that is the arithmetics that are being done. If indeed the current President, Honorable William Ruto, finds the mountain slippery, then he must complement those numbers. And those numbers are likely in the Western, in the Western Luya, the Western Luo, and Kisii and coastal regions.
Though the President believes he still has a firm grip in the mountain.
These are numbers, yes.
Based on what he said.
Yes, these are numbers that have firmly been in ODM for about 4 elections. And therefore, you want to have a proper stranglehold on those numbers and then work out of how to convert the mountain from the red to yellow so that you have a bargain the way he says he still has. Because for him, he has to posture and take on Rigathi Gachagua and team on the mountain.
So, you don't think he has the sway for the mountain?
I think it has been in the red for him for a while, but there's a possibility that he can be able to make it yellow. I'm not sure about green.
Even with the turn of Moses Kuria, the turn of Mutahi Kahiga, the Nyeri governor, who had said, come on, buy.
I doubt why I'm saying it was in the red because of the emotions about the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua. Those temperatures seem to be coming down. And it can't get to green, it will go to a yellow because there are then 2 issues. There is the issue of the Mount Kenya East, where the deputy president is hailing from. So and the turnout of the by-elections, particularly in Mbeere. So you have the Mbeere, you have the Meru, and you have the Tharaka that may neutralize the Rigathi effect in the larger mountain region. And of course, the mountain politics cannot be discussed without the mountain diaspora. And therefore, again, that is where he has a lot of sway. So it will not get necessarily to green, but it will likely switch to some amber or yellow for him. So, but in terms of William Ruto getting the number of votes he had in 2022, that I do not see. But let me mention two quick things.
Yeah.
One is that Senator Nyutu says he disagrees with me about ODM, which I respect, and Honorable Eddie Gachagua also has some ideas. I think ODM is cannibalizing itself out of fear for two things. One, they have the fear of unknown for going hard on their SG, whom they do not majority, or let me not say majority, significant, or there's a Sifuna phobia and Sifuna mania in ODM after Raila phobia and Raila mania. And it seems there's a fear of acting on Edwin Sifuna because the consequences are unknown, particularly where he may command some of his following. So there's that they are afraid of dealing with it.
Should they take action, though? Whichever
I mean, the action, that is where I'm heading. Yeah. That the most pragmatic thing for a political party like ODM, you have completed your grassroots elections. You are due for in a national delegates conference. Of all the things that ODM is mentioning, the issue that is being mentioned just as a passing, in passing, is the issue of the national delegates conference. ODM needs to bite the bullet, take the grassroots membership to the National Delegates Conference, so that the substantive leadership can be determined, so that Edwin Sifuna throws his hat in the ring against Eddie Gachagua, and Eddie Gachagua wins and takes the mandate of the people, so that he comes here and speaks as the SG of ODM in an authoritative manner, not just wanting to split firewood when there's a wedding for the girl that he was wooing, you know. And then the other issue is that Raila didn't say much, right? You see, Raila responded to a question with a question, you know, whether, because he asked, who tells you that ODM will not have a candidate? You know, will not feel a candidate. That was typical Raila. And therefore, this confusion is there. And therefore, ODM has to focus, in my view, on having substantive leadership. Oburu, the three deputy chairs, the SG, the chair are all holding those positions out of Raila's mercy. And they need to come out of that. They need to hold those positions firmly. The way forward is a delegates conference. Number two is that the most important thing, if ODM and UDM mean well, is that they have this 10-point agenda. It is important that the parties continue focusing on that for implementation, so that Joe Nyutu can have actually a principled conversation with them on the issues that they are pursuing.
Let me bring in Eddie on this. Eddie, direct question. Do you still want Sifuna out?
The reason why I gave the party a chance on the issue of dialogue is that the question that I raised about Sifuna was a question of very serious leaders of ODM warring. I like the way Mkwanja has put it, right? There's definitely factions in the party that are in the two extremes, and they are warring. This is the truth. And that warring character, you only solve it in the wisdom of our party leader, which he said, by enabling a dialogue conversation. It's not a personal issue of, do you want the Sifuna out? I want the SG of ODM. You must separate these two. Sifuna, the person, is a very good friend of mine. My colleagues here will tell you that Sifuna and I actually sit in the same, if it was school, we call it desk mate. We sit in the same row and we consult a lot in terms of what is going on in our party. And he's a personal friend. The problem I had was the SG of the party who has a double speak on issues. Because if you go and commit us to broad-based government, you put a document with which you must assess with government. You put a committee that must be able to ensure that there is something like compensation. There is something like review of NADCO. Today, as your party member, I must follow that. And then tomorrow, you go and bastardize all this that you have said. I am left confused. That was the simple issue that I was raising, that it needs to be addressed. And it needs to be addressed in such a way that it allows that when you go to the NDC, we are one voice. And that's why I said that I stood down my issues that I raised so that it's a dialogue issue, because it was not a personal issue. It was questioning the party positions issues that tend to show to the public that, one, the structures of ODM are not honoring themselves, right? In the sense that when a position in ODM, when the chair lady Gladys Wanga speaks as Gladys Wanga, I don't have a problem. But when she speaks like the chair of ODM, she's speaking for me. She's speaking for party members. Right now, Dr. Oburu Odinga has spoken as the party leader, reading a statement which ordinarily should be read by the Secretary General of the party.
Who did not show up in the meeting.
If he recants this kind of position, I will have a problem with him. Because we are supporting that position based on the fact that it came from the organ of the party. So when the organ of the party speaks, we must separate those two. Yeah. You know, some people have confused this thing that, oh, is it the person Sifuna? Or no, it is the Secretary General of the party that we must question and make sure that even the party leader and the chair lady of the party, when they speak as a party, and we must be able to have one voice going forward. I mean, however painful this is, we must force this dialogue and we must force this conversation to go on. But that said, I must tell John Newt that it is not me making the DCP party small. DCP party is small. In fact, when Mkwanja called it emerging, or not emerging, emergence is a function of maturity. So Mkwanja is even calling it immature, and I believe it is. Do you know why it's immature? Because DCP, number one, ideologically it is formed on the base of tribal. You cannot compare DCP with ODM, that is a national party, not a tribal party. That is why Newt is so confused that his membership is in UDA, his party leader is Ruto, and he's there taking sacraments in DCP. He's so confused because he finds it convenient to be in a tribal party, which has been formed by a tribalist. Why are we not talking about other leaders in Central Kenya as tribalists? There are so many Central Kenya leaders. Mathira Karatina is in the opposition. Have you ever heard about us talking about Mathira Karatina as a tribalist? No. Uhuru Kenyatta is a Central Kenya leader. Have you ever seen us calling him tribalist? No, we are not. Moses Kuria is from the Central. Have you seen us calling him tribalist? There are many I can mention. But this is a tribal party. A cocoon that believes that this country can only work when you balkanize Luos into a region and call them Luos and form for them their party. When you balkanize Kikuyus into one region, we want a country that functions without tribalism in this country. And it's long time it ends. And you can see the way they're hiding on it, even when John Newt talks about goons. Was John Newt not in a function at Gakuya's parents' funeral when he and Rigathi had their own goons beating a woman? Did he even condemn it? We saw this thing in this country where a woman is being beaten by goons, right? And that's why his so-called padre, who is in this DCP party, did not comment about the goons he's talking about. Did you see Gachagua condemning these goons he says that were harassing them the other day? No, he didn't, because he had his own goons and he has committed to it, chasing these other goons. So these are politics that must end. This tribal politics. In fact, if ODM is going to negotiate with people like DCP, I am not supporting my party leader. This negotiation that is going on must be with UDA and other like-minded parties that are trying to unite Kenyans.
So DCP is where you draw the line?
DCP, I draw the line. Because I cannot afford to associate with a tribal party. Any party from Mount Kenya we can work with that is not tribal, that has got mature ideology. And I like Mkwanja because the maturity of UDA, apart from other indices, the maturity of DCP, the maturity of ODM, the maturity of UDA, and any other party must be based on ideology that can be able to unite this country. And DCP shows us the worst. Leave alone the fact that it doesn't have any MP. It doesn't have any senator. It doesn't have any governor. In fact, if Newt was a man of principle, he says that there's no principle in politics. Yes, there are. Raila Odinga was a principled man. His followers like me are principled. We bring our issues in a principled manner. He might not have principle, but if he had principle, he could have gone and resigned from UDA, vied in DCP, and give it some breath and not masquerade about this tiny party that they keep on masquerading around and confusing Kenyans on the basis of tribalism.
Okay, let me hear what John, I see you writing, and I know you usually just wait and give your feedback. Let me hear what Sige has to say.
Trevor, you see,
what should these negotiations be based on, in your view?
This is basically supposed to be in black and white.
Yeah.
The negotiations should be based on what plans, what ideas, what arrangements are we putting in place as political parties for the people of Kenya. Remember, Trevor, we are looking or we are seeking for leadership in any political arrangement that will take charge of the country called Kenya. Such that when I had my friend Ruto comparing Kenya with Kigali, I was actually worried that the space with which Kenya is right now is because of its freedom and also the democratic situation that we have. We can't compare Kigali and Rwanda in terms of our political dispensations and even the kind of growth in terms of the democratic space.
Yeah.
So any negotiation that comes, whether it's going to be an extension of the broad-based, where we are saying we've made an arrangement with ODM on how to work together in ensuring that we serve the people of Kenya, we deliver on the promises made, and also we unite Kenyans. That should be an extension, so much that when the Central Committee says that we are exploring negotiations with like-minded political parties, starting with UDA in the run-up to the 2027 general election, it is extending the goodwill that has already been exhibited by the two political parties in the establishment of the broad-based government. And you can bear me witness, Trevor, that arising from the broad-based arrangements, we have seen more Kenyans coming together and appreciating the arrangement for so many reasons. One of which is, of course, the fact that we've now a stable government which facilitates delivery of services to the people. We have had otherwise completely marginalized communities, small groupings who've for the longest been left out in government, joining government and also getting specific critical positions that has exhibited a government for the people of Kenya, not for some small groups that says the majority will have it all, the minority will have none or nothing at all. And that is why the president is able to cut across the country, all the way from northeastern, Nyanza, western, coast, and yesterday, for instance, in Mount Kenya. That tells you, going forward, if ODM and UDA and other like-minded political parties come together, we will be able to dispel this idea of tribalism. And as we say, I'm trying to avoid wading into the conversation of Kenyans, 41, 42, 43 tribes against one, which is being orchestrated by the former deputy president who was impeached. Why was he impeached? So many reasons, including the conversation that is still extending as at now about admissions to national schools. It's quite below the belt for such a leader. And in as much as we are saying we will come together as leaders in this country, we want to make sure that every Kenyan has got his or her place in the space called Kenya. One of us is saying you should not admit non-locals in a national school. Remember, those institutions were built using public resources. Whether in Bomet, Tenwek High School, which is, I'm a great alumni of that school, I would be very happy to have Kenyans. And I think it will be the lowest moment of me to say I want only the locals to be in that school. But now, quote unquote, that is what someone would say. So going forward, as we sit back, I completely would associate myself with what Senator Okech says in terms of there's a red line that should be drawn in regard to the statements that we make as leaders, whether we are in church or we're in a political rally. When we are talking in our vernacular language or in the national languages, there is a line that should be drawn. That is the message we are sharing. So as we then look at these coalitions and formations, serious issues will be in place. The president is talking about programs that have never happened before, affordable housing programs. When we look at, I was just checking on the content of what he was giving out to the people of Nyeri, for instance. 600-kilometer Mau Mau Road that is now fully paid for and will be completed towards the end of the year, plus additional 2 billion shillings for lot 3 of those roads, which means several constituencies. In this one, it's Othaya, Kieni, Tetu, which will be connected by the end of the year in terms of resources having been made available. If William Ruto was a tribal leader like the leader of DCP, for example, we wouldn't be going to Nyeri, but he's saying Nyeri is Kenya.
Okay.
We are in office because we are supposed to lead Kenyans.
Yeah.
We must serve them all.
Okay.
If we will be talking about issues between now and 2027, the issues about one term, Kasongo must go, is confined to one small, immature political party, now called DCP. You haven't heard that from ODM or other political parties, and that is why they've been unable to even consolidate and have a united opposition. It can't happen.
Okay.
So we will be dealing with Kenyans of goodwill who are looking at developing, growing Kenya on the path to Singapore, as the President has said.
Let me hear what Ruto has to say in reaction to this. And in all fairness, I think during the burial of Alice Gakuya, the mother to Embakasi North MP, James Gakuya in Murang'a, I saw Joe Nyutu trying to protect Lamu woman representative Monica Mudhoni, who was being attacked by several people there. You were there on the camera, but still, he raises a good point that she was still kicked out by the same goons who you allege that some of them are from this other side. But let me hear your reaction to what Eddie said.
Thank you, Trevor. And I may want to plead for some more time because, of course, Eddie and Sigei have directed their anger that they collected the whole of last year at me. So it would only be fair.
There's no anger.
It would only be fair. I keep quiet as you are disparaging me and my boss, Rigathi Gachagua. I mean, I wouldn't have wanted to come and discuss, to respond to some, of course, unfounded allegations, especially from Eddie. He says that DCP is small and tribal, unlike ODM. I was very keen to hear from him say what makes DCP tribal, other than what he hears William Ruto say for his convenience, to deal with his greatest nightmare. And I want to tell you, Trevor, that Rigathi Gachagua is Ruto's greatest nightmare. And that is why people like Eddie, who are actually in ODM, have been recruited to do nothing else other than, mudslinging, disparage Rigathi Gachagua. And anything that happens, by the way, Eddie and the governor for Homa Bay in particular, Gladys Wanga, and one Junet Mohammed, who has been exposed for what he is. And that is the only thing I like with what is happening in ODM. That now people who have been used, who has been dogs for hire, sorry to use that word. I mean guns for hire, that's a better word. Guns for hire to attack Rigathi Gachagua, even for no good reason, now are exposed. That they are the people who actually cost ODM a win in the last general election because they consumed or they actually embezzled the monies that were meant to be for agents. And that is why you have not heard Junet Mohammed speak about anything else. But anyway, it's good to get back to the point. People like Eddie, what has he presented as a learned man, a learned person, making allegations on a national TV? What has he stated as his reasons for calling Rigathi Gachagua and DCP tribal? Has he done any search? And I would challenge him to do that because I know he has his online there. Check. And he keeps talking about the organs of the party when he's talking about ODM. Will he check and report back here who the officials of DCP are before he calls DCP tribal again? Tell us the officials of DCP who come from Mount Kenya. How many are they compared to those that come from other regions? And while at that, tell us where Kisa East Ward, where DCP won, is. Tell us where Narok Town is, where DCP won. And tell us where Kariobangi, I think North is, where DCP won another ward seat. Because we cannot allow people like Eddie, who are acting for President Ruto, to come here and make allegations that they cannot prove. Just call somebody tribal because you heard William Ruto call him tribal. You don't even understand why William Ruto is calling him tribal, but because you are there, you want the goodies that President Ruto has. Now you want to come and disparage the person of Rigathi Gachagua. You know, he says, why are they not calling other leaders from the central region, or Mount Kenya region, who have parties like Mathira Karatina? Why are they not calling them tribal? Of course, because their job description is clear. Their job description is not to attack Mathira Karatina. Their job description is to attack Rigathi Gachagua. And that is why Eddie and the group and Gladys Wanga and everybody will not attack any other Mount Kenya leader as tribal, because that is not within the job description that they have been given by President Ruto. You know, and I'm glad that you observed, the incident at Makomboki Primary School during the Bureau of the Mother of Embakasi North MP, Honorable James Gakuya. You know, sometimes I'm sick and tired when you find politicians just, presenting something and, they just display their ignorance. If you ask Eddie, he did not watch he was not actually following the proceedings there. He just saw some young men and people rising against the Lamu woman representative. He will not tell you what that particular member of parliament did to arrange that. He will not even tell you.
Tell us.
He will not even tell you. It's not my duty to tell you, because you say...
Tell the country.
She declared
it's my time. It's my time.
They know,
it's my time.
She declared
it's my time.
Yeah, tell the country.
I mean, this is... I can tell you, Trevor.
Yeah, what did she...
If I'm reasonable,
yeah,
and I've not been sent by anybody to go and cause a problem somewhere, William Ruto will come to Murang'a, and he does come to Murang'a. I would not be reasonable if I went to William Ruto's meeting in Murang'a and started telling those that are there in his presence that here, or me, even if you are here, I am one term. I'm not two term like you. And even when the crowds, of course, start, are
you serious?
Telling me...
Is that your democratic right?
Are we serious?
You should be allowed to air your views without...
Nobody can speak.
He listened to you.
It's my time.
He listened to you.
It's my time.
So let's listen to him.
It's my time.
Shouldn't that be allowed, though?
It's my time.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
Different views.
I'm not trying to say that what happened... I'm not trying to say, Eddie, kindly, you can have some debate manners. Kindly. I listened when you are talking about me, not any other person.
You listened.
So,
listen. Shouldn't be...
You must listen.
And then you
must listen. I have not said...
Shouldn't it be allowed?
Trevor, I have not said that what happened was right. And I am happy that you observed what I did to physically shield Honorable Muthoni from those that were being for her blood. I mean, I'm not saying it's right. What I'm saying is, it's also not good. You have to have a sense of occasion. There is no, for me, if you ask me, there is no need, provoking people, that they say, no, we are one term. No, me, I'm two term. I mean, as a leader,
what's the problem?
What's the problem with that?
That's a
what is the problem with freedom of speech?
I'm just saying.
That's something that your party is lit.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Crowds. Somebody said a mob has no brain. And that is why, while
she was one, she was not a mob.
Yeah.
What is wrong with Eddie?
No.
Surely.
I want to hear your argument.
The people of Migori are observing. They also need to see you, sobering up the way I sobered up.
But you to focus on your...
Please.
No.
Wait for your time. But you had your time, Eddie.
Hold on.
You had your time, Eddie.
Why
cannot you behave?
Focus on your debate.
I mean, why do you enter? I am not here for a shouting match. My time. Wait for your time.
Senator,
you guys
wait for your time.
Senator, focus on your argument.
I know what Eddie does, and I've told you in the past.
A different position in a crowd perceived to be on one side. Why is it wrong? That's the argument.
I've told you I know what Eddie does.
Yeah.
He tells me when we are out of here, when you are just about to hit it, I have to hit it. So please control him.
That's what I'm telling you.
I am the people of Migori.
There are things I can't do.
The people of Migori.
By the way, Trevor,
hold on, I'll give you a
don't call
chance.
me to
The people of Migori.
It's okay.
If somebody will come here and limit
The
freedom of
people
speech
of Migori
in front of the country,
No, allow him
to the extent that they
explain.
beat a woman
That's what I'm
for
asking
speaking
him.
her mind, you must hold him accountable to that.
Eddie, allow him to explain.
Yes.
Why is it wrong for someone to state a different position, even if the crowd is on one?
That is what I'm trying to explain. But of course, you know, William Ruto has a lot of money. He will give you, once you are given too much
William
money,
It's not about William Ruto.
when you don't even want to listen.
Freedom of speech.
So
Just
I'm
answer
saying,
the question.
I'm
Why
just,
is it
I'm,
wrong
I'm just telling
for
you,
someone to state issues in a one-term perceived area?
what I'm saying
Yeah.
is, it is not right to attack anybody for holding their views. I have not, and if it was right, I would not have gone to protect physically, to shield Lamu woman rep, Modoni. But what I'm saying is, I mean, it's good to have a sense of occasion. I'm just advising, it's good to have a sense of occasion. I mean, you cannot, it's not right also to be like you are getting into a shouting match with somebody saying a mob has no brain. As much as we know that it was not right for the mob to behave the way it did, but for you to avoid such a situation, because ideally, if I go to Homa Bay today and think that I can be able to, to convince those members there to leave ODM and maybe to join DCP party in a public rally, maybe I may not gain much. So what I'm saying...
But you should be allowed to try.
Of course you should.
You should be allowed
to
even ask them to join DCP.
Of course, agreed.
And nobody should attack.
Agreed. What I'm saying is, that is why we had to protect. Personally, what I did, Senator Medu and I, what we did to physically see to it that that member of parliament was not, touched by anybody. And nobody beat her up. Nobody even touched her. It was just an uproar and that kind of thing. Nobody reached where she was. Of course, we gave her a human shield, and it's fair. But because I don't want to get lost on that, Eddie has said that Rigathi Gachagua did not say anything about the goons that attacked us on Sunday.
Yeah.
I again want to refer Eddie to go and look at the speech that Rigathi Gachagua made in church, because it's important that we be factual. Now he says.
Your time is almost up.
Yes, he says that, yes, and Eddie, that is what Eddie wanted. He says that ODM will not negotiate with DCP. I want to tell Eddie, DCP has not asked ODM to negotiate with it.
Okay.
Nobody doesn't know the stand of ODM.
Okay.
And not ODM, the faction of ODM where Eddie belongs. But allow me to just say something very quickly that Senator Sigei said, that
10 seconds.
You cannot compare Rwanda and Kenya.
Yeah.
Why I mentioned Rwanda as an example is because it's a very small economy, even geographically, it's a very small country, but it is managing its affairs very nicely.
Okay.
It is actually a country where we should be. But please, when you get time, allow me to explain Rigi's position on the placement of grade 10 in schools, because I think there are very many, allegations being made.
Okay, you'll clarify that. Let me bring in Mukwanja on this. Mukwanja, are we so locked into, as a country, to believe that this can only be a two-horse race? Is there an alternative to this entire leadership structure of the country, or are the people so focused on just the two-term, one-term? Because I can see here that Owalo, who's a former deputy chief of staff, actually, resigned. And he said he's running for office, the president, Boniface. Mwangi has also said the same thing. There's several people who've said it. Are we, as a country, too locked into this perception that this can only be a two-horse race, and therefore they are not seeing any other alternative? Or does another alternative actually exist?
Yeah, Trevor, I'll respond to your question, but allow me half a minute to reinforce your point. I think we wake up early as reasonable Kenyans to come here and reason and not to argue. And I want to challenge my two brothers, the senators of Murang'a and senators of Migori, that I know the Kenyan political culture is dominant with bad manners. But they are leaders, and you should have some shame, because if these habits can be copied by their the people they represent, they should question themselves whether those habits would evolve this country or would collapse this country. And there must be some social decorum. And maybe we need standing orders for some of these things, because it's not fair for themselves, not fair for the people they lead. It's not fair even for the leaders that they represent. And there's just some level of good manners that it behooves them upon them to do that. Trevor, this country is declared in Article 2 as a multi-party democratic state. But I prefer that it is not. And it's largely a two-party system. And the elections can tell us, the elections outcome of 2000, especially after the 2010 constitution, that we have had two horses and a donkey. And because of one, the 50% plus one demand, and the 25, percent in more than half the counties, which is 24 counties, and of course the tribal arithmetics that play out to be able to reach there. But I think as we evolve continuously, I am sure that alternative voices would continue to emerge. I had hoped that 2027 would be one such occasion, following the 2024 revolt by young people. But it just seems that there isn't sufficient wind in the sails of some of these alternative candidates. And therefore, it will take us a bit of time to see. But looks like there would be some force, because when you look at President William Ruto's speaking, he says, I built my Mount Kenya ties with Uhuru, not Gachagua. That tells you that President William Ruto is identifying Uhuru Kenyatta as a force away from Gachagua. And that, to me, says that if President William Ruto, Uhuru Kenyatta continues to throw his weight behind a candidate like Matiang'i, that could mean that there could be some donkeys mimicking horses going into the 2027 elections, because there will be a substantive candidate in the formation of Kalonzo Musyoka or Rigathi Gachagua, if they are cleared out of the impeachment challenges. And then there is the incumbent, and then there's the former president, and then there is an opposition candidate that is likely to come up. Whether these others of Boniface Mwangi, Maraga, and the others can actually have some sufficient oomph, including Owalo, I am doubtful, because, you see, even just listening to Owalo and the way he declared, Owalo is a good strategist. But you can't declare a presidency as if you are facilitating a strategic planning session for a CBO. I mean, telling us about operational context, it's underwhelming, and I don't think that he kicked off well, and I don't consider him as serious. But we have these manners in this country, Trevor, where I come from, we serve at the meal of ugali, and the only condition for a young person to sit with the elders and partake of it is to know how to wash his hands clean. And Owalo feels that having run Raila's campaign, participated in some politics with Musalia, and then switching into UDA, which was positioning himself for some of the rewards he got, he feels that he has now understood how to wash his hands clean, particularly in the absence of Raila Odinga. I may not have an opportunity to go at it again, but let me just mention quick things. In defense of DCP, and again, what Senator Okech was saying, DCP may not necessarily be a tribal party, all right? And Senator Nyutu proffered some of the things that I am a democratic development worker. And it's normal for a political party to have a catchment. And this catchment must be strategically identified. I mean, it was UDA being tribal when President William Ruto had to swallow his pride and pay a visit to the home of Gideon Moi, and find a way of challenging him out of the Senate race. The issue is about making sure that UDA postures that Rift Valley is our bedrock. And that is normal in politics. Secondly, is that 2027, before I come to that, I think, again, in defense of DCP and the leader, you can fault Rigathi Gachagua for his choice of words.
Yeah.
But I believe there is an issue around our education. There is an issue around our healthcare that needs a conversation. And in fact, in the latest opinion polls, health and education are issues that Kenyans are saying that we need to have a conversation about. There is a level of satisfaction. Why is it that there is a huge population dissatisfied with the intake of grade 10? You know, those are things that we need to do.
Okay.
The two final points.
Very
I
easy.
think President William Ruto should try to restrain himself as well. We need an open political field. I would want to see him promote fair competition and not necessarily working to restrain and democratically interfere with other political parties. Let's have a fair competition. Finally, the 2027 election cycle, I think we have more in the aftermath of the general elections. We may have the normal politics going into 2027 and during the elections, but I dare say that the person that will win may have a legitimacy crisis, particularly if they continue to behave like Senator Okech and Nyutu without profiling issues. Because the candidate that will win and legitimately govern in the aftermath of 27 is a candidate that will profile issues, particularly attract the young people to participate as voters, participate as candidates, to participate as election observers, to participate as election workers, and then have post-election pathways. There will be legitimacy. Otherwise, whether it's one term or two term, I see trouble in the aftermath of 2027 if the politics that we're seeing on this table continue.
Okay, Eddie, does Owalo stand a chance?
Owalo is a child playing with his father's shoe. I want to discuss him. That's simple. He is not bringing any value into this conversation. Whichever reasons why it came out as such, we are yet to know. I mean, I'll give it time and perhaps learn, but for now it's just a child playing with his father's shoe. It is important that I tell my brother Mukwanja. Mukwanja, there are what we call hysterical moments in any society. Hysterical moments are those moments that there are things that appear before you that are completely not tolerable. You can't tolerate them because if you tolerate them, they bring society back to its knee. You are the CEO of what we call CMD, Center for Multi-Party Democracy. That Center for Multi-Party Democracy works to enable both political actors, but more even importantly, civil society actors and non-political actors and even strategic partners to be able to participate in a democracy, a value system that can be able to allow people to have freedom of speech, human rights, and even freedom of assembly. If anybody dares touch any of those tenets of democracy that you have achieved, even you should be hysterical. You should be seriously hysterical. For instance, I personally, despite the fact that we are standing in broad-based and we are supporting broad-based government, there are things that I've got thick skin for and there are things I've got no thick skin for at all. One of those things that I've got no thick skin for at all, even if you judge me that it looks decorous or not decorous, is one, anybody who interferes with freedom of speech. Because that freedom of speech is something that there is a time that in this country you could not even imagine, even in your own dream, that you can talk even about a president. It will be treasonable. We cannot go back that dark ages. When you say that a woman can go to a funeral and she cannot say some things in that funeral, if she says it, it becomes a danger of physical harm. And you want to tolerate it, that is something we must talk about here on TV. No, I won't tolerate it. It cannot happen because you, as a leader of the civil society, political parties, and even strategic partners, if it was somebody else who was not a mheshimiwa, your own member who is a civil actor who was in that funeral who could have said that thing, perhaps they could have been unlucky to be left. Maybe the lady was left because she was a politician. Politicians have got more support in terms of security protection by the masses. But otherwise, if it was somebody else, maybe they would have been killed. Another thing, I've been on this show, even at a time that we were in this program called Broad-Based with UDA. Trevor was in this show saying that anybody who tries to bastardize or who tries to mischaracterize or even try to limit the tenets of Article 34 of this Constitution, the right to picket, the right to demonstrate. When Honorable Passaris, the women of Nairobi, brought the bill in the House to limit those freedoms of picketing, I couldn't even study it on this show. It is Eddie, it is classical Eddie, okay? When there was brutal killing of people, including like the way Albert Ojwang was killed, despite the fact that we're in broad-based, when there were abductions and when there was killing of people in this country, I stood tall. I am not ashamed on standing against people like Nyutu who want to take this country to dark days and somehow talk about things that will take us back, limit freedoms, promote brutality, promote, killing protest, killing demonstrations. We can't do those things in this country now.
All right.
When it comes to that,
okay,
that's where I draw the line.
Okay, agree.
I want you to understand me.
Okay, that's clear. Let me hear what Sigi has to say about this. Yes. Is Owalo, does he stand a chance?
No,
they are
he does
third
not.
force.
Owalo does not stand a chance.
Yeah.
He basically must have been trying to find some relevance in the political space, especially having served in the executive for the few years that he's been. So bottom line is, he does not. To me, he even doesn't feature as one of those whom we will place in the table of negotiations if that time comes. He hasn't revealed that he's buying in any serious political party, for lack of a better description of any of such political party. And so we shouldn't even spend much time talking about his candidature for now. That is, let's wait and see. But then again, talking about it is in the context of his declaration. It might have been influenced by other factors other than his candidature for the presidency. The others, if mentioned, Maraga has fizzled out. I don't know whether he's still a candidate. Boniface Monkey has come out there. We don't have Kalonzo to be firm as a candidate. So basically, where we are headed to, it's a wait and see. But as we speak right now, we have talked about whether it is one term or whether it's two term. We are talking about service delivery to the people of Kenya, and the next general election in Kenya will be issue-based. And that is why, even as we talk about all these formations to come, UDA as the ruling coalition or as the ruling party has started to build its grassroots level by now the ongoing grassroots elections. And I'm happy because the constitution of UDA recognizes the lowest level of support, being the grassroots. I participated fully in the drafting of that constitution, and I'm proud to say that it's a people's party. Going forward, I'm sure those lowest level representatives at the polling station will be able to disseminate the ideals of UDA to the extent that when the time comes for coalitions and negotiations, we'll be cutting across the entire country. Okay. When we did our grassroots elections over the weekend, Bomet as a county we had 636 polling stations. And I'm proud and very happy with the way the elections were undertaken, peaceful, and we emerged, the original UDA members who were actually genuine supporters of the party, had their delegates elected. We've got over 80% win. Yeah. Going forward, April, we'll be having NDC where the conversation around a possible post-election engagements with ODM and other like-minded parties will come in. Okay. And therefore, there'll definitely be a conversation that will come. Okay. As to whether or not, I remember earlier on my friend Frank Linia talked about my otherwise competitor in the coming election. I'm serving as the Senator of Bomet County, and I'm taking charge of what needs to be taken in terms of oversight. Okay. So going forward, no, I haven't said that I'm not going. Okay. Nor have I said that I'm going for. But from the look of things, I'm doing my work for now. But the ground is fertile. Okay. It's quite available for me. And I know if today I was to wake up in the morning and say I want to run for governor, which all signs are there, I might. Okay. Then I'm ready to take, and I'll definitely win by 8 a.m. in the morning. Okay. Because we have got the representation of the people. Okay. Allow me to say one very briefly, running out of time. As to whether we'll be having 2 or 3 horse races. The idea will be, let us tell the people of Kenya what we promised them, what we will have delivered. Okay. William Ruto will be one such candidate to tell them about the issues he promised, what is delivered. Whether it's affordable housing, whether it's the education sector or the health sector that has got, of course, appreciated challenges in terms of, there's still some teething problems. But by and large, we are 70-80% in terms of positive trajectory to serve and deliver to the people of Kenya.
Great.
Besides the politics.
Newton, does Owalo stand a chance as we wind up?
Well, I don't think he stands a chance, but I think he fits in the scheme of things. In the scheme of President Ruto to situate that, of course, probably you divide the ODM.
So you think he's another project?
Yeah, definitely he is. But allow me to say...
He's not a member of ODM.
Let him finish. It's done.
You know...
The two of you will have your debate in Parliament.
I have two people that have really disappointed me.
Yeah.
The first person that has disappointed me is Franklin Okwanja.
Okay.
He cannot say that both Eddie and I did not exhibit the manners that we are supposed to exhibit as leaders. Well... And he was here. Well, Eddie ravaged me, and I was completely quiet.
Yeah.
Sigei took over. When it was time, it is Eddie who shot up with bad manners. Mokwaja must not me with Eddie's mad.
Okay.
I am a very sober person. I wait until my time comes.
Yeah.
I am very disappointed by Eddie, because I expected him to come back, like I had challenged him, and say what makes him think that, say that Rigathi Gachagua is tribal other than what William Ruto tells him. He has not done that. Instead, he has chosen to, take us, to give us...
Let him finish, Eddie.
He has chosen to take us on the moments, I don't remember the word, hysterical moments. I think, Trevor, it's important. We also have hysterical moments, especially when you are tearing me apart. You wait. Maturity dictates that you wait. Eddie could have waited for me to finish my submissions with his hysteria that he has about women. I don't know why he has that hysteria about women, but granted to him, he has a right to have that hysteria. But what we are saying
about
is when you are on a table like this debating, you still have to wait until your time comes.
Okay.
That is the only thing we are asking. And Trevor, you may have to devise a method, especially when you invite me here with Eddie, who cannot hold himself. You must come up with a device that switches somebody's mic off when it is not the time. Okay. Because we cannot continue, Eddie cannot continue having bad manners here and have me smeared with that kind of mad. Okay. Because it's unfair to me. Allow me to just...
Truth has bad manners.
I just wanted to hear your view on Owalo as we all finish. You guys are getting into your fight.
And the truth is that
now you know who...
Gentlemen, let's have our cool heads for the moment.
It's my time.
Let's have our cool heads
my time.
so that we
my time.
Moment is hot.
And the day, Trevor, I can challenge you.
Yes.
The day you will find me interjecting anybody on this show, never invite me again.
Okay.
Because I will have shown that I'm not a mature debater. I will have shown that my points are inferior, and that is why I cannot wait for those with superior points to say their points. But can I mention something to do with the placement
we're having that conversation Monday. We'll give you a chance to discuss that on Monday. It's a full
Thank you very much. But finally,
yeah.
Senator Sigei said that one term a rallying call has been left with just one party, DCP.
Yeah.
I want to tell him there is another party in this country, Senator Sigei, called Wiper Patriotic Movement. There is another party in this country called DAP. Kenya. There is a party in this country called DP, led by Muturi. There is another party in this country. There are many parties in this country saying one term. Yeah. And so let us be fair and factual as we reason here. But next time, Trevor, Eddie,
I'm your nightmare.
No, you cannot be a nightmare.
Gentlemen,
you cannot be a nightmare. You only have inferior points, and you cannot.
Let's wind it up there. Thank you so much for your time.
You must be a fair judge.
Thank you, Trevor. Thank you.
Close.